Welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and we're doing another impromptu live stream. This one gets to be a Friday night live stream. Yeah, I got some weird issues. How's that? That still sucks, doesn't it? Oh well, what are you gonna do? So for today's video, I thought we'd talk about why coral are easier than fish. I swear they are. And we're going to get kind of into that. But before we do, and we're waiting on people to come on, we'll talk about the room I'm in. This is going to be my bedroom eventually. But, I got to paint and do all this stuff to it. So that's going to happen. So bear with me while I turn this into a bedroom/studio. I'm hoping the video quality comes out better than last. I'm up in the same room as the router. So hopefully that's going to help. But before we get to the topic on coral being easier than fish, I want to remind everybody about Weekend at the Wholesaler. That's tomorrow in Centennial, Colorado. It's where I open hammerhead corals, but it's not hammerhead corals. It's becoming my shop, Mile High Reefers. And I'm going to open it up to everybody, and you can come buy coral from me. And you get these great deals, great coral, and that's tomorrow at 11. So I hope to see all of my Colorado friends there. So let's kind of start getting the topic. First, let's go to comments and say, hello, Reef Keeper or Phil. Man, I've been loving your tank lately. If you don't follow Phil on Instagram, you should. His tank is killing it. But let's get into the topic that we're all here for, and that's why coral are easier to keep than fish. And this is a big misconception a lot of people have. Like, we kept fish a lot longer than we kept coral, but these days everything is completely reversed. Fish are the hard part. Coral are so easy. So let's just get into the basics, right? So you need a tank, right? Well, coral can do great in tiny little 1-gallon tanks. Like in the saltwater hobby, there aren't a ton of fish that go in really small tanks. Yeah, we all keep like 10-gallon and up nanos, but you can keep coral in really small tanks. And they do great. Lance, what's up? So they do great in small tanks. But then, when you get fish and you get your tank and you put them together, well, what happens a lot of times? Fighting, aggression, stuff like that. Yeah, fish fight. This is a freshwater problem. This is a saltwater problem. This is everywhere. You have to deal with fish aggression. Well, coral, we have that, right? You put 2 coral in a tank and they can fight. They can put those sweepers out. They can even release chemicals, but it's a lot easier to deal with, right? So if you put 2 corals in and the sweepers come out, you can always move them apart. Try doing that with fish, right? At that point, you're getting a different tank and separating them. But you can put 2 coral just as long, fairly close together, just as long as the sweepers don't come out. Way easier to deal with. In fact, so much easier to deal with. So that's a good reason why. How about when we start packing a tank of coral? Well, when you start packing a tank full of coral, if anything, like the water quality gets better, other than calcium and alkalinity because they use that. But as far as your nitrates, phosphates go, that kind of stuff, yeah, it actually gets better, right? The coral are going to absorb that out of the water. Try the opposite with fish. Put too many fish in a tank. Well, now your aggression issues go up. Plus, your water quality goes to crap because you're polluting it with all of the toxic stuff they're putting out, right? So they eat, they go to the bathroom, they produce waste. Guess what? Water quality gets worse with more fish, but you put more coral in and it's quite the opposite, other than calcium and alkalinity and your trace nutrients. But as far as the nutrient load, it actually gets better. So we'll stay on this topic and we'll kind of go to some of the comments. Southern Ontario Palms Thank you so much. Love you too. I have many fish. They all love each other. However, sometimes I feel like it's fun. They start their stuff. Okay, so fish, they will get along with each other, but they can be a challenge, right? So you get two zebra soma tanks, they're probably going to fight. You get two torches, not going to fight. It's great. And even if they do, you can separate them super easy. Try catching a fish. It's such a pain in the butt. Try catching a coral. Yeah, they just sit there, right? You stick your hand in the tank and grab it. It's so much easier to deal with coral. All right, let's go to the next one. Lance. Scott, can GSP, or can you just cut GSP when it grows onto something else? Yeah, actually you can. You can cut it and you can just peel it off. Now, one of the problems you will run into with coral is some of them will grow onto rocks and stuff and it's not going to peel off. Pallies and zoas are really bad about this because as soon as you start pulling on them, they start releasing toxins, but you're not going to have any real issues with GSP. You could damage the GSP if it's really attached to something like that, but yeah, it's just not really an issue. The GSP, you can peel it. It'll grow up the side of your glass. You can take a razor blade, cut it off. GSP is fantastic. Reef keeper. It can be difficult adding fish to an established tank. Always a bully. Yeah, absolutely. It's nice when you finally have harmony. Okay, so with fish, when you put them in the tank, it really takes time for all the fish to settle in and everybody to become happy and healthy. So he makes a fantastic point there that when you start putting those fish in, there's going to be this time period where everybody gets to know everybody and they're going to figure out their pecking order. It gets harder and harder as you add more fish to the tank. So as you add more fish, you've got more personalities there to fight. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I know I ran into that the hard way when I tried putting 9 tanks in the 210 gallon. Not my best move. All right. Southern Ontario palms. I thought my massive torch coral was a wuss until I started stinging me when my hand was in the tank. It's like a burning sensation. However, it's not as bad as being bit by Nemo. Okay, that's another one, right? So some of our corals can burn us, right? So fish actually bite, and some of them can hurt pretty bad. You ever been hit by a clown? They suck. But there are coral you're going to want to use some PPE with. Pallies are always one of them. Glove up, something like that. Keep yourself safe. The other one is torches and euphyllias put out a sting. This did not used to be a problem for me. I never had issues with torches stinging me or problems with it. But over time, whatever resistance I had in my hand, it went away. So torches, anemones, anything like that, I've got to glove up at this point to handle because I totally get stung. When I was working a wholesaler, the customers would laugh at me because I'd be going to bag their hammers or something. Oh yeah, I'd have to put gloves on because, it would destroy my hands. And so whatever it is, I lost my resistance to it. So yeah, I mean, there are downsides, but in general, I still think the coral are easier than the fish. Okay, let's go to another one. Core Dozer, any advice on making a DIY sump out of a 125-gallon tank, putting it on a 220 in my basement, and I want to go huge on the sump? Well, if you're going huge on the sump, best advice I can give is you're going to build your return section. So that last section can be relatively small. Design that to fit probably the biggest pump you would ever want to run in there. I assume if you're running glass, you're going to run an internal pump. So set that for the biggest size that you're going to want to run. Everything else you can start setting for the water volume, right? Your skimmer section, set that at the set that for the height of your skimmer. So that'll be your wall. right? So your first section or even your section can be a skimmer. But honestly, if you want to go super easy, one big section, return section, and it's as easy as it gets. You can do a refugium if you want in the middle, but it's really up to you on how you want to do it. Do you want a refugium? Great. Do you want it super simple? You can totally do that. Really, these can be as simple as 2 sections, the part that goes in and your return. If you go super simple, you're going to have a little extra bubbles and that kind of stuff going in. But for the most part, I prefer a simple one. I like a first stage where you put your skimmer, that kind of stuff. Some people don't like it because you get a few bubbles going into the skimmer. That kind of stuff doesn't really bother me. Personally, I'm into big fan of either 2 or 3 chamber setups. First one with the water going in, second section for a fuge, third section set up for that return pump. All right. So next, let's talk about the sad part when things die. Yeah, fish, coral, they can die. But they die differently. When a fish dies, it's dead. Like, take it away. There's nothing you can do. Coral don't necessarily just die. How often in this hobby do we see coral that we think are dead, like white ghost skeletons? Nothing left. We let it sit there weeks, sometimes months later, pieces of flesh come back. This life comes up and out of it. The other thing is when a fish dies, it dies 100%. Coral can die back 10%, 20%, 30%. Like, it's a completely different death. It's crazy. So coral don't just die like a fish will die, that just makes it easier. So in my opinion, it's easier because the coral just don't die. Okay, let's go to another comment. Reef Keeper, I remember when you had issues with the black tang getting beaten down. Yes. Oh my God. So this is a great example of some of that coral aggression or fish aggression stuff. This is why coral are easier than fish. I got a great deal on a hybrid black tang. Put it in my tank and it just got the crap beaten out of it by the other tangs in the tank. I went through a lot of stuff. I've got a bunch of old videos on this. It took me forever to get that tang situated in that tank. Eventually I did, but it wasn't a good process. I felt so sorry for the fish, and I personally would not do it again. So yeah, but the thing is when you get coral, you just put another one in. Oh, but let's talk about this, right? You get too many coral in a tank. What do? You start fragging. Well, what do you do with frags? You give them away to your friends. You sell them. You trade them into the store for store credit. Like, breeding fish is hard, especially saltwater. Coral, they just grow. And then when you have too much, you cut them. Other than like your single large polyp stonies, right? Your big fat-headed like acanthos or scullies or something. Everything else, when it grows too big, you just cut them. And then you trade them to your friends, you sell them, whatever. So yeah, size isn't even an issue with coral because if it grows too big, well, just cut it up. It's not a big deal. Fish, you can't cut your fish up. All right. Lance. Also, I'm not sure what kind of mushrooms I have, but do any of them split themselves in half? Mine look huge, like they're gonna split. They will tear and they can split, but for the most part, what's going to happen is as the mushrooms move across the rock, so as they grow, they kind of slowly move across the rock, and they leave a little piece of them at the base, on the rock, and that's what grows into new mushrooms. So mushrooms are actually closer related, from my understanding, to anemones than they are to coral. So a little different. They don't move around the tank like an anemone, but they will slowly like creep on the rock, like over like years to the ones next to them. The other crazy thing mushrooms will do is detach themselves from the rock and then blow around in the tank. I'm going to have to guess they do this in the ocean, right? I mean, if you're in a bad area and you got a lot of current, well, what better way to try to find a new area than just to let go and have yourself blow into hopefully a better area? Okay, Connor Fall. I have a blue devil damsel. It is such a douche. Attacks all my fish. Oh, damsels can be such a pain. I have 3 sapphires and 1 azure. The 4 damsels I have been model citizens. I'm really happy with them. Okay, Reefaholic. I have 25 fish in my 240 reef, and yes, it's getting a lot harder to add more fish since every fish has already been there for the past 5 years. And that's the same problem I've ran into. But coral, you don't have that problem, right? You have a 10-year-old coral, you put a new one next to it, as long as it's not throwing sweepers out, you're good to go. Coral are so much easier, like light water. So light flow, good water chemistry, and you're keeping coral. Like just keep them separated, give them the right light and flow, and they're happy. Like coral are so much easier than fish, and they clean the water. Southern Ontario, talking about adding fish way later. I added my mandarin after 3 months of QT. Every fish raised fins and came close and said, "What's up?" However, my mandarin didn't care and kept calm. Actually, that's going to be something you're going to see when you first put that fish in. They swim up to each other. Fins are going to come up and they're going to establish dominance. Hopefully, that's all you're going to see. But a lot of times with what's going to happen, fins are going to come out and then they're going to start tail slapping and stuff. And that's where the fighting starts. And that's where we start to have more issues. You're right. When my yellow tang died, I chopped a fin off and glued it to the plug. Didn't grow back. Oh my God. I hope that's a joke, but hilarious because I know it's a joke. But wouldn't that be great if that's how we could propagate fish? No, you can't do that. Like, try propagating yellow tangs. It takes a research lab to do it. You can't do it. Well, I mean, technically you could do it in your house, but it's more than I'm capable of. All right, Reef Keeper, how about adding a new fish to an established system with an acclimation box? I've had pretty good luck. You have experience with acclimation boxes. So I don't have the traditional acclimation box. What I've actually used in the past with mixed success is my Aquamatic fish trap, right? Because it works just like an acclimation box. I can hang it on the side of the tank. It's got the doors, all the other fish can see them as they swim around. That works pretty good. But still, even after a week or two in the box, if the other fish are upset by it, it can still be a problem. The other thing is my setup doesn't work great with bigger fish. But I've seen some pretty elaborate setups where people actually have acclimation boxes on the back of the tank, which is a really cool idea, like built in back of the tank. So then they drop the new fish in the back for the acclimation to happen. And then everybody gets used to it. They can spend months back there. Sometimes they take them out of the acclimation box, put them in the new tank. Really cool setups. So I have limited experience doing that. Southern Palms, azure damsels are great. They really are. Model citizen. I've got one in my tank right now. Beautiful fish. Doesn't cause any problem. He just has this one little territory he swims around in. Great fish. Blue and yellow. Great color. And it was stupid cheap. Like freshwater fish cheap. Algae Warrior. Hello. Sean Clark, welcome to the live. Southern Palms, I'm glad you're happy and moving forward. Yes, things are going good. We got a lot going on. Weekend at the wholesaler is this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Things are really going well. We got a lot going on. Got the 40-gallon up and running. Got coral in it. That's pretty cool. I got the little 1-gallon up and running. So we got videos coming on both of those. Let's see, what else we got? We did a video where I made my own PNS Pro bio. So that's going to be a pretty cool little video. So yeah. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments column. Oh, Reef Keeper. Okay, yep, that's exactly what I used was the Aquamatic fish trap. Yeah, it works pretty good as an acclimation box. For tangs, I wish I had something bigger, but So, to kind of get back onto the whole subject of what I want to start this live stream about, when I started this, I thought, okay, I'm going to start with fish, and then when I'm a good enough aquarist, then I'll start keeping coral. In my opinion, you can almost switch that around now, right? The coral are the easy part. Like, start with coral, light flow, good water chemistry. And for good water chemistry, our salt mixes are good these days. If you've got RO, water changes. So easy. Seriously, for easy corals like your zoanthids and mushrooms and toadstools and devil hands, and even your easier LPS like candy canes and bubble corals. Bubble corals are a little more advanced, but honestly, they're not that demanding on chemistry. They don't take a ton of flow, so they actually work good in easy tanks. So really, for those easy setups, water changes, light and flow. That's all you need. Like, it's the easiest thing. Where fish, okay, you put them in. Now you got to feed it every day. You don't have to feed coral. The lighting will take care of a lot of that. Okay, most coral you don't have to feed. The lighting will take care of most of it, though. Then a light feeding broadcast feed for the other stuff, super easy. Okay. Do you think smoke like we're getting in Colorado today has any impact on fish or coral? Oh, I can't imagine it's good. So it's been so dry and so windy in Colorado that our mountains are on fire again. We're getting all this smoke down. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it can't be good for it. How do you manage nitrates and phosphates in your system? That's Sean Clark asking that. Me personally, I'm using bio pellets and GFO. And then basically the way I do it is I've got just a regular GFO reactor, one of the BRS ones, and then I mix the GFO and the carbon in one container. A little different. Most people will tell you to run the two, but then they want you to tumble the GFO. Well, if you've ever tried to tumble GFO over the long term, it's a giant pain. It clumps together and then it gets hard. I don't do that. I mix the GFO in with my carbon so that basically it's in between the carbon pieces, and then the water flows through. There's no need to mix it. It works great. I don't use a lot of GFO. And then bio pellets. I find bio pellets are the easiest way to manage nitrates for me. There's pros and cons with it, but for me, that's still what I'm using. All right. Aaron, what's up? Michael Labato, I agree. Fish are difficult. Coral are easy. Absolutely. It's this revelation that I think a lot of people still have it backwards on. Southern Palms, I can't remember. You carbon dose. Is it worth it for you having all that slime changing filter floss versus water changes? Okay. So I do carbon dose. That's actually the bio pellets. It doesn't really create slime or anything like that. So basically, the way I've got it, is I've got a big reactor with just a few biopellets. I don't run very many in the bottom, and they sit there and tumble. And then I've got a hose that goes down to my return for the skimmer, and then the skimmer sucks all that stuff up. So pretty much all the waste off of the biopellets goes to the skimmer. Now, my skimmer line, because of my system, is split between the main return to the tank and the skimmer. Some of it goes back to the tank, but with biopellets, we're mainly growing bacteria, which is food for the coral anyways. Though I want to say with biopellets, I've added too many to my reactor before. I've crashed my tank because of it. I am very limited on the way I use biopellets. I put very few in, and then I don't add much very often. And when I do it, I just add a little bit at a time. So yeah, they're worth it, but for me, so that's the big system, right? The big system's 450 gallons total, 24 gallons. I don't run carbon. I don't run anything on it. I do water changes every week or two as I get around to it. It's a 24-gallon system, and I'll do a 5-gallon water change, and that's all it takes. It's super easy. I don't test it. I don't do anything to it. And so I'll probably be running the frag tank the same way, unless I end up with a bunch of acros or montes or something in there, something using a lot of calcium alkalinity. But without a lot of fish in there, we shouldn't have a lot of nutrient issues. I will probably be putting a tang in there, but honestly, big tanks where I don't want to do a lot of water changes is really where I'm personally using carbon dosing. Smaller systems where water changes are easy, I just do water changes. Water changes make so much more sense on smaller tanks. And actually, I should probably do a new video on this, right? I did one a few years ago about why I don't do water changes. Well, my thinking has changed. Now it's I don't do water changes on big tanks. Little tanks, I don't even test. I just do water changes. And it's just easy, right? Easy coral, do water changes. Small tanks just makes life easy. Okay. Reef keeper, wildfire smoke can affect corals. My skimmer line runs outside. Last year, I remember seeing this on your Facebook. Last year, we had some bad fires in Cali, and I lost a few corals. Now I have a carbon filter on the outside airline. I hadn't thought of that, but you make a good point. Everything I have is inside, but you're right. If you're running an outside, that's a great idea. And if it's getting so bad it's inside the house, I don't know. Fortunately, I'm far enough off the mountains that I hope we don't burn out here, but I got a nice behind my house, one of those natural ones that could always burn. You never know. I'd be really sad. But thank you for that information. That's really good to pass along. Late to the live stream. Happy Friday. Cheers. Happy Friday. Southern Ontario. My corals don't consume that much calcium, alkalinity, mag, so I've been carbon dosing. However, it creates a lot of slime. Interesting. What are you carbon dosing with? Hey, Scott, how's your reef tank doing? Reef tank's doing pretty good. We've got some algae we're fighting. I've got a new product. Well, it's not a new product. It's a new way to kill aptasia that was recommended by Rogue Aquariums, my buddy Darren, who does Rogue Aquariums. And yeah, it's crazy. You guys will love this video, but I'm not going to recommend this one for home. So I'm not even going to give the name of what I'm doing right now or tell you how, but it's crazy what this stuff does. It kills the aptasia, but there's some major caveats behind it. But yeah, it kills it better than anything else I've seen. All right. Algae Warrior. I didn't even have an outside skimmer line and all that smoke gone in. Yeah, I mean, if you're close to a fire, geez, I can't imagine. I've been lucky. We are far enough off the mountains. We've had a lot of bad fires in Colorado over the last couple of years. 2 years ago, it was just raining like the burned ashes from some of the fires up past Fort Collins. It was terrible. So Southern Palms. So with the wildfires, should we run carbon in the CO2 scrubber? What I think he's talking about are the carbon scrubbers on the CO2 inlet or a carbon filter on there. I'm not 100% sure, but what I would say is probably best thing you could do is like a mechanical like air filter style thing on the outside of your skimmer if it's on the outside. On the inside, it's going to be really hard, right? But yeah, I don't think they make anything from the inside. But what he's talking about is his skimmer, like mine would be in the basement, right? His skimmer's downstairs, is in the house, and then he runs an airline from his skimmer outside. The idea is if you draw in oxygen from outside, it has less CO2 than the oxygen in the house, and that helps raise the pH of the water. It's a great system, I guess, until you're sucking in ashes from a wildfire, which sounds pretty. Phil Tennell, you nailed it. Yes, and that did come from you. I will mention that in the video. Yeah, so since Phil told everybody, I've been trying sodium hydroxide to kill Aptasia on my Reef tank, and yeah, it just burns that stuff up. So Phil says, I learned that from Greg Carroll, and he learned it from Jake. LOL. So I'll have to talk to Jake, find out what his experience was with it. All right. Reefaholic. Prices of fish are off the roof right now, though. Oh, man. Okay, so prices of everything are insane right now. Fish, coral, laptops, food. It doesn't matter. So fish kind of makes sense. Coral kind of makes sense, right? Whether it's wild imported, aquacultured, it doesn't matter. It all takes energy. The wild import stuff, right? You're using boats to go out and collect it. You're using planes to ship it. And then when it gets to the stores, you got to run lights and heaters and all of that. That all takes energy. And energy is so expensive right now. Aquaculture, same deal, except now you're using energy to grow the coral. Then you got to ship it. Fish are the same deal. I mean, I think it's the energy prices right now spiking everything. It's rough. And then the material costs for everything are sending things up. Yeah, it's a little rough. The pain on all of that. I need to kill some pallies. Aptasia X isn't working. Okay. Be so careful when killing pallies because of pallytoxin poisoning. This stuff is no joke. I've been hit by pallytoxins. I think I had a mild dose. It just kind of made me feel ill and sick. I had this like metallic taste in my mouth. Honestly, when it comes to pallies, if you want to get rid of them, and this is a struggle I have in all of my tanks, I say, if at all possible, remove the rock, cut them off the rock with a saw, wear gloves, wear a face shield, wear a respirator, because this is nasty stuff. And pallytoxins usually don't mess with your fish, but if you were to kill a large colony in your tank quickly, that would scare me too. All right. Guess what I'm doing? I'm moving my mic so I can see. All right. Radiant Reefs. I'm going through shipping now. Expensive. Yeah, it's so bad right now. All right. Southern Palms. Why is it you have massive mix? You have this massive mixed reef, no expense spared, and everyone that is loves GSP. Okay. I do have all that, and I love GSP. I just don't have some more. GSP is a fantastic coral for a lot of different reasons. So GSP is bright. It's easy. It can be used to cover the back of a wall, right? So back of a tank. It grows over rocks, so it almost gives this green carpet look. A lot of fish won't eat it. So in a lot of systems where You have fish picking on coral. You don't have to worry about that because they won't pick on GSP. It's just really cool. So GSP, it kind of serves a purpose. All right. Anyone switching to cheaper salt? Instant Ocean, I have been running reef crystals forever. So maybe there'd be some means to trying something else, but I've been doing really good with the reef crystals. People come to my house and they love the cheapest coral. My prize corals get no attention. Oh, I know how that is. My big old bubble I used to have, people loved that one. And I think by the end, it was probably one of the more valuable ones in the tank. But yeah. What about Reef Delete on Pallies? I've never done it. I'm not familiar with that product. All right. Southern Palms. I agree. Reef crystals have been great. Okay, that's probably cool. Reef Keeper, Neptune's Aquatics in San Jose has a GPS only tank that is beautiful. I totally believe that. I could see like an Amano inspired reef tank using like GSP and maybe some Gorgonians. That'd be pretty sick. All right, Reef Keeper, skip the Reef Delete. It is trash. Uh-oh. And we have lost audio for some reason. All right, well, if we've lost audio, I guess we'll probably call it. I think we've pretty well covered everything we need to. So, hey, we got somebody saying good to know. But, yeah, all right. Adios, Jack, guys. All right, we'll see you later. Dude, I don't know. It's probably the damn wind.